Our next set of notes is going to be rounding and estimation. So you've already done this before, but we're going to go through a little review on this. You should have your notes in front of you and ready to get started. For rounding, the first thing we need to do is underline the rounding place. Now, place, remember, is the location. Number 2, circle the digit to the right of the rounding place. Number 3, if the circled digit is a 0 to 4, keep the underlined number as it is and eliminate any numbers to the right of the underlined number. Eliminate means to change them to a 0. If the circled digit is 5 to 9, change the underlined number to the next highest number, or multiple of 10 if that's what you're being asked to do. So let's have a couple of examples. Round to the nearest tenth. So remember, our first step is to underline the rounding place. So for rounding to the nearest tenth, the 8 is in the tenths place. Then it says to circle the digit to the right of the rounding place. And I'm going to highlight it just so it's a little easier to see. Okay, now if the circled digit is a 0 to 4, so that's our answer, we need to keep the underlined number as it is and then eliminate the rest of the digits. Now, so let's rewrite it. We keep these digits to the left, so we keep 432 and 8 tenths. We can change these to zeros. But actually, since they are after the decimal and they are at the end, we can eliminate them and make this 432 and 8 tenths, just like that. Okay, let's move over here. Round to the nearest whole number. When you see this, it is asking you to round to the ones place. We're going to highlight the digit to the right, and then we look at it. It is 5 through 9, so we have to change the underlying number to the next highest digit. So a 2 then becomes a 3. So we have 433, and all of these numbers change to 0. But because they are after the decimal, and there is no other digits past them, we can change it to 433 and leave it like that. Let's look around here to the nearest hundredth. Our hundredth place is this 4. We highlight or circle the digit to the right, and that 6 tells us that the 4 needs to go up. So we write out everything to the left, 432 and 8 tenths. The 4 needed to go up. So 5 hundredths, and that 6 becomes a 0. Now remember, since that 0 is at the end and it is after the decimal, we can eliminate. So we have 432 and 85 hundredths. Our last one that we are rounding, we round to the nearest 10. So the 3 is in the tens place. The 2 is the digit we're looking at. And that 2 tells us that it needs to stay the same. So we have 403, and all of these become zeros. And now remember, these zeros, they are after the decimal, so they can be eliminated. This 0 before the decimal cannot. 430. Okay, let's move on to estimating. Estimating, we round each number to the nearest whole number, 10 or 100, depending on what the directions tell us to do. Then we add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So when estimating, you need to round first. Okay? When we estimate, we round first. Now sometimes it's just going to say estimate the answer. you're able to decide how you want to estimate that. For instance, if it had this problem right here and it just said estimate, you could decide whether you want to estimate that to the ones, tens, hundreds, however you want to do that. But in these, it tells us the directions. This one says estimate to the nearest whole number. And remember, I told you when it says whole number, that means that it is talking about the ones place. So we're going to go ahead and get both of these ready to estimate to the nearest whole number by underlining the digit that we are rounding. So we have underlined the digit that we are rounding. And now we are going to highlight the digit that we have to look at to tell us what to do. Both of these are 8, so we know that both of these are going to round up. So 35 is going to round up to 36, and those change to zeros. 103 is going to round up to 104, and those change to zeros. But since these zeros are after the decimal, we can get rid of them, and we have 36 plus 104, and 36 plus 104 gives me 140. And that's it. We have estimated to the nearest whole number. Okay, estimate to the nearest 10. We have to round first. We're finding the digits in our 10 place, highlighting the digits next to it on the right. This 4 tells us to stay the same. This 2 tells us to stay the same. And all of these can change to 0. So we have 280 minus 40. And we can get rid of these zeros here. So we have 280 minus 40, and that gives me 240 with it estimated to the nearest 10. 2 more, and then you're on your own. Estimate to the nearest whole number. Okay, that's the ones place. We were going to look. Now this 3 tells that 4 to stay the same. So we have 14 times. That 9 tells that 2 to go up times 23. And we can get rid of these zeros because they're after the decimal. This dot here, I like to call it the multi-dot because it means multiplication. So we have 14 times 23. Now, I cannot just do that right in my head, so I'm going to come over here. 23 times 14, and I'm going to multiply it out. 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Oh, my placeholder. 1 times 3, 1 times 2, and I'm going to add them together really quick. And so my answer is 322. Last one, estimate to the nearest 10. Underlining my tens place. Oops, I underlined the wrong one. But that's why we have erasers, and that's okay. I'm gonna circle or highlight the number that I'm looking at. This 7 tells my 0 that it needs to move up, so that's going to become a 1. So we have 110 divided by that 4 tells the 1 to stay the same. And then these zeros are not needed. 110 divided by 10, and I can think in my head, 10 times what is 110? And I can say, oh, that's 11. So there we go. So it should be 11. Okay, guys, that's all for our review.